I was due to share with Deputy Eugene Murphy. I don't see him here yet. Last Concurder, I welcome this bill. This is basically a legislative mea culpa on the part of former Minister James Riley, whose bull in a China shop approach to health reform is now being reversed by this bill. And I was listening to Deputy Durkin's homage to the past, and there was a lot of sense to what he said in terms of the old health boards. And when I was first elected to this House in 2007, under the HSE, there were regular quarterly consultative meetings on a county basis where the hospital management and every manager of the HSE locally came and engaged with us on a quarterly basis, and they were very effective meetings. But under Minister Riley's tenure, they too disappeared because the hospital groups were established and they saw themselves as unaccountable to the local elected representatives. So the final vestige, as it were, of local involvement on the part of local representatives was fully cleared away, and the actual regular local meetings don't even happen now. So you don't really get that chance of engagement with local management. And the abolition of the board, and I think it was in pursuit of Senator Riley's Dutch model at the time, which was going to be the panacea to all of our wants, like some sort of a classy beer. That was supposed to improve accountability and improve delivery within the HSE. It was never going to happen. And unfortunately, we've had so many incidents since of proving that scenario. The lack of accountability at the very top has found itself right across the organisation. And what one finds is when you deal with local management and deal with local people, their passion for the patient is fantastic and immense. But as that goes up through the layers and the layers and the layers within the HSE, it gets lost somewhere. And one of the issues in this bill, Minister, is that it only outlines that two members, a minimum of two, would be patient representatives. That surely is too few. Surely everybody should have the interests of the patient at heart within this new board. That everybody should be able to live the patient's experience and live the patient's journey. Surely, too, there should be representatives of relatives, of parents who depend on the HSE for day-to-day services, so that somebody around that board table can tell the story of cancelled appointments, can tell the story of not being able to access physio, OT, not being able to access home care packages, not being able to access, being told on a Tuesday that your surgery, which was due on a Wednesday, is being cancelled. Those experiences need to be heard around a board table. If HSE management, if Department of Health management are unwilling to hear them from us directly elected representatives, then we should ensure that in the design of this new board that they are central to the board's experience. And that other issues and that other experiences take second place. August freisin mar go bhfuil an board seo I gceannas cuasaí sláinte in Éireann, ba cheart go bhfuil Gaeilge ag na daoine atá ar an bord. Ní léon rud ráite sa dlí nua faoin cuasaí Gaeilge, agus tois agam go raibh cruinniú ag an chuiste na Gaeilge, agus tá an teachta Connaí I gceannas an cuaiste sin faoin na serviceí Gaeilge agus serviceí a bheith eáil I Gaeilge. Agus tá sé an tábhachtach go bhfuil Gaeilge ag gach duine atá ag obair sa cuasaí sláinte a go háirithe ar an board freisin. I think when you look at the experience of the HSE since 2011, since the abolition of the board, and we've had the overruns on budgets, which I know Deputy Durkin is trying to dismiss as an annual thing and something that always happens. It shouldn't always happen. The reason it happens is because there's no proper financial planning or proper streaming, and equally there's no accountability for when it goes wrong. We've had so many controversies locally and nationally that have impacted on patients, impacted on patient care, but most importantly impacted on confidence in the service. That again, there's nobody being made accountable for that. Nobody has paid for their involvement in those experiences with their job or with any kind of sense of change or transformational change. And that's what this board needs to actually take charge of and needs to hit the ground running with. But in just changing the board, are we actually changing the culture of the organisation? And that's ultimately the change. And I know we're all committed to going down the Sláinte care path, and we all do that collectively and politically. But that Sláinte care path must involve at its heart a change in the culture of the delivery of service, one that puts the patient first and one that actually starts and invests, but also puts the proper legislative framework and regulatory framework around primary care. And invests in primary care that makes it firstly an attractive place to work. Now, we don't, as we are doing at the moment, alienate our primary care professionals to the extent that they are fleeing the country to go to Canada, to go to Australia, to where the system is set up to allow them to be, for instance, GPs, or allow them to be physios, rather than do everything that we expect them to do here. That we actually say, as well as giving lip service to primary care, that this new HCC board will place primary care at its heart, and that we can deal with so many problems there rather than allow them to come into the setting of a hospital. And that when they do come in there, that they will get a service, that they won't be left waiting, depending on what time of year it is, on trolleys for many, many hours, or that there will be a service that is available at primary care on a consistent basis across the country, unlike at the moment where it changes from area to area, from CHO to CHO, depending on the availability of a therapist or the availability of an appointment. That if you are born in one particular part of the country, you have quicker access to services than you are if you are in another. A board, a central board, a board of governance of a health organisation must have the commitment to actually consistency and continuity in care in a national setting, regardless of geography. And yes, there are care that cannot be done locally, and there are specialities that cannot be given locally. And tough decisions were taken in this House under the old HSE structure about reforming cardiac services and reforming cancer care services, opposed by those of you on the other side of the House now, that have delivered changed outcomes. But there needs to be a consistency in the delivery and an understanding of, again, I bring it right back to the patient's journey in the way the care is delivered, in the way the services are allocated. And that board has to take on that responsibility for doing that. It has to be a board with teeth. It has to be a board that the management of the HSE are responsible to and can be held accountable to, because I think the upper management of the HSE have not felt that responsibility. Our Health Committee do a superb job, but can only do so on a limited basis in terms of holding them to account. And bringing the HSE management in on a crisis-by-crisis basis to PSE isn't necessarily the best way to get consistent answers or to get reform either. And again, this new board has to be entrusted with the responsibility of doing that. But equally, this board has to be answerable to people as well. And getting an annual glossy report full of staged pictures of everybody looking happy is not responsibility, is not accountability. The members of the board have to have accountability to this House in a very different way than the standard procedures of committee, going before committee and trying to not answer any questions for a whole day if you can get away with it, and probably spending many, many tens of thousands of taxpayers' money on communications consultants to be told how to do that. That's not responsibility, and that's not answering, and that's certainly not responsibility to this Oireachtas. So, Minister, now that you've given to reverse the car that was driven by Minister Riley, driven through our health service without any cause or any knowledge of the damage it caused, you've got to make sure it's a new car that you're driving. Got to make sure that this board has the strength and has the capacity, has the skill set to represent the interests of patients first in the Irish Health Service, of communities, ensures the consistency and the continuity of care in as far as is possible across the country, and where that spread cannot be provided, it ensures that people have access to that in a timely manner, in a manner that suits their condition, in a manner that will respect their dignity as a patient and as a citizen of this republic. The people we ask to take on the duties of this board are going to be asked to take on a very big responsibility. And we have to be actually maybe consider that responsibility and consider the remuneration of the people we are asking to take on this job. If we want the right people for this job, the standard way of rewarding them may not be the way, and thought will have to be given to the kind of personnel we want, the kind of experiences we want around that table. But every single person that signs up and becomes a member of this board has to know from the beginning that their job is to represent patients, that the people who are treated within this service get that representation and can know that if their treatment goes wrong, or if their experience is a negative one, that around that board table there is somebody who will stand up for them, stand up for their community, and stand up for a health service. Thank you.